The restaurant's chatter sliced through the air like a dull blade, but it was her laugh, sharp, crystalline, slicing, that stopped Mark's world. He stood frozen at the bar, his fingers tightening around the cold neck of a beer bottle, her voice carrying over the clinking glasses and murmured conversations. "He's too scared to ever leave me," Sarah said, her words dripping with a smugness he'd never heard before. "He'd fall apart without me. Honestly, it's pathetic." Her friend's laughter erupted, a cruel chorus, and Mark's chest caved inward, as if the air itself had betrayed him. He hadn't meant to overhear. He'd only stopped by to pick up the wallet she'd left on the counter that morning. A small errand she'd texted him about with a careless, "Can you grab it? I'm out with the girls." The restaurant, a trendy spot with exposed brick and dim Edison bulbs, was alive with the hum of weekend revelry. Mark had spotted her instantly, her auburn hair catching the light, her posture relaxed, commanding, as she leaned forward in the booth. He'd hesitated, not wanting to intrude on her night, but now her words pinned him to the spot, each syllable a needle threading through his heart. Mark's mind reeled, replaying the last decade of their marriage. He saw her in flashes. Sarah's warm smile when he proposed on that rainy pier, her hand squeezing his during late-night talks about their dreams, the way she'd curl into him on cold mornings. Had it all been a lie? He thought of the small things, the way she'd started dismissing his opinions, rolling her eyes when he spoke about his job, or how she'd laugh off his attempts to plan date nights. "You're so predictable, Mark," she'd say, her tone playful but edged with something he couldn't name. He'd brushed it off, told himself it was just stress, her demanding career, their mismatched schedules. But now, her voice echoed in his skull, pathetic. He slipped out before she could see him, the wallet still tucked in his jacket pocket. The city streets blurred as he walked, the neon signs and passing cars fading into a haze. His mind churned, piecing together moments he'd ignored. The late nights she claimed were work dinners. The way her phone was always face down, her passcode changed last month with a breezy, "Oh, just for security." The way she'd stopped saying, "I love you" first, waiting for him to offer it like a ritual she no longer believed in. Each memory was a brick, stacking into a wall of truth he could no longer deny. At home, their apartment felt foreign, the walls closing in with the weight of her absence. The kitchen clock ticked too loudly, each second a reminder of her laughter still ringing in his ears. He sank onto the couch, staring at the framed photo on the coffee table, Sarah beaming at him during their hiking trip last summer, her arms slung around his shoulders. He'd thought she was happy. He'd thought he was enough. Now, the photo felt like a prop in a play he hadn't known he was starring in. He wandered into their bedroom, his gaze catching on her vanity. Her perfume bottles gleamed under the soft light, their floral scent lingering like a ghost. He opened her jewelry box on impulse, his fingers brushing against the necklace he'd given her for their 5th anniversary. A silver pendant shaped like a star, engraved with forever. She hadn't worn it in months. Beneath it, tucked in a corner, was a folded note. His stomach twisted as he unfolded it, revealing a man's handwriting. "Meet me at the usual spot. Can't wait to see you, Jay." The paper trembled in his hand, the ink blurring as his eyes burned. He didn't know who Jay was, but the intimacy of the words carved a hollow in his chest. Mark sat on the edge of the bed, the note crumpled in his fist. He wanted to scream, to confront her, to demand answers. But her voice kept replaying, "Too scared to ever leave me." She thought he was weak, spineless, a man who'd cling to her no matter what she did. The realization ignited something in him. Not anger, not yet, but a quiet, smoldering resolve. He wouldn't be her punching bag, her safe bet, her pathetic husband. Over the next 2 days, Mark moved with a precision that surprised even himself. He was a ghost in his own life, going through the motions while Sarah remained oblivious, her routine unchanged. She'd come home late, her perfume now tinged with something unfamiliar, cologne maybe, or just the scent of her lies. "Work was brutal," she'd say, barely meeting his eyes before disappearing into her phone. He nodded, smiled, played the part of the devoted husband she expected. But behind his calm facade, he was unraveling their life together. He started with the finances. Years of trust meant shared accounts, but Mark was meticulous. He opened a new account in his name, transferred half their savings, and paid off his credit cards. He called his brother in Seattle, arranging to crash there for a while. He packed methodically, clothes, books, the watch his father left him, leaving behind anything tied to her. The apartment lease was in her name. She'd insisted on it, claiming it was easier for her to manage. Now that choice felt like a gift. The hardest part was the letter. He sat at the kitchen table, pen hovering over a blank page, the words refusing to come. How do you summarize a decade of love turned to ash? Dear Sarah, he wrote, then stopped. He wanted her to feel the weight of his absence, to understand what she'd lost. But he also wanted her to know he wasn't broken. He wrote, I heard you. I heard what you think of me. I'm not scared anymore. I'm gone. He left it unsigned, the words stark and final. On the third night, Sarah was out again, another girls' night that stretched past midnight. Mark loaded his car, the trunk filled with boxes that held his life. He took one last look at the apartment. The couch where they'd binge shows together. The kitchen where they'd danced to old jazz records. The bedroom where he'd once felt whole. Then he locked the door and drove into the night, the city lights fading in his rearview mirror. When Sarah returned, the apartment was silent, the kind of quiet that presses against the skin. She called his name, her voice sharp with irritation, then confusion. The letter sat on the kitchen counter, next to her wallet, the one he'd never delivered. Her fingers shook as she read it, the words blurring through tears she didn't expect. She looked around, noticing the gaps where his things had been. His jacket missing from the hook, his laptop gone, the photo frame on the coffee table now holding only her face, his cutout with surgical precision. She sank to the floor, the note clutched in her hand. She'd laughed at him, mocked his loyalty, assumed he'd never have the strength to leave. But Mark had rewritten the ending. The joke was hers, and the punchline was her life. Empty, silent, and hers alone.